From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for the October 18th edition of Carolina Week. I'm Katie Parley.
And I'm Bridget Williams. We're proud to be bringing you coverage of Carolina news and events. Election Day won't be here for nearly 3 weeks, but many North Carolina residents are already casting their ballots. Beginning this week, registered voters can cast ballots at one of 52 satellite polling places across the state. UNC opened its poll site at Moorhead Planetarium Monday. The polling site will remain open to voters from 10 to 5 Monday through Friday until November 3rd. The UNC satellite polling place attracted many Orange County residents, including UNC professors and students.
It's very accessible, and I was like, okay, I've got breaks between classes. I know that I'll be able to get it done really fast.
It really gets out of the way for someone like me who knows how they're going to vote already, and also just one less thing to worry about on voting day.
Organizers of the new program called No Excuse Voting have set up satellite polling places at all 16 UNC system campuses. They hope the program will increase voter turnout and student support for the university bond referendum.
The race for the White House is now a sprint. The final presidential debate was more feisty than the previous two. George W. Bush and Al Gore sparred about election reform, of course. Determining who won and who lost depends on your perspective. Flash polls give us an idea about first impressions voters formed after the debate. CNN senior political analyst Bill Schneider has a look at those numbers.
The aggressive Al Gore was back Tuesday night in the third and final debate of the 2000 presidential campaign. Gore, who has been slipping in the polls, was raring for a fight.
It is actually a disagreement between us. We have a big difference on this. We have a huge difference between us on this question.
George W. Bush cast himself as the candidate of unity.
There's too much bitterness in Washington. There's too much wrangling. It's time to have a fresh start.
Bush claimed the election was a referendum on government.
If this were a spending contest, I'd come in second. I readily admit I'm not going to grow the size of the federal government like he is.
Gore depicted it as a referendum on the Clinton administration's record.
And you know, we've heard a lot from the governor about not much being done in the last 8 years, as if the promises that I made 8 years ago have not been kept. I think the record shows otherwise.
The viewing audience included more Bush supporters than Gore supporters. But who did they think won? Gore, by a very narrow margin. There was no decisive winner, but Gore definitely made gains. He made those gains at a cost. Bush scored on credibility. Viewers found him more believable than Gore.
It needs somebody in office who'll tell the truth. That's the best way to get people back in the system.
They also found Bush a lot more likable than Gore. There's a fine line between being knowledgeable and being a know-it-all, between being self-confident and being pushy.
I specifically would like to know whether Governor Bush will support the Dingell-Norwood bill, which is the main one pending.
If nothing else, the debate helped clarify the choice facing voters 3 weeks from now: an aggressive advocate versus an amiable consensus builder. Bill Schneider, CNN, Atlanta.
The presidential debates are over, and there's less than a month to Election Day. In our Speak Out segment this week, we asked students who they're going to vote for and why.
I would probably vote for Gore, and because he usually supports programs that benefit what I'm interested in, such as education, Social Security.
At this point, I'm leaning towards Bush because I agree with him on more issues. I agree with him on his foreign policy issues.
Okay, I'm going to vote for Al Gore because I'm a Democrat and because I think he has a lot of experience in the White House. I think President Clinton did, while he messed up in a lot of things, he did a good job with the economy, and I'm interested in seeing that continue.
I think I'm going to vote for Ralph Nader because I like his policies. They favor me.
Okay, I'm gonna probably vote for Al Gore because of, first of all, his stance on abortion, and secondly, I totally don't agree with the majority of the Republican platform.
I think I'm going to vote for Bush because he has more conservative policies.
Our sample of student opinions is in no way scientific and shouldn't be taken as a reflection of widespread opinions on campus.
UNC students are continually moving beyond the university and reaching out into the community to help others. But this time, they're helping one of our own. Carolina Week's Christy Fair explains.
Few people build their dreams from the ground up, but Habitat for Humanity is building Renee Cooper's dream of owning a home, one weekend at a time.
It's a wonderful feeling. I've never experienced anything like this before. I never thought I would get to my house because when you first start, you have to work on other people's houses.
As a UNC pharmacy student and mother, Renee knows the value of hard work. Now she's about to see the payoff.
Straight up.
After 3 months of work, a foundation and walls stand here. And Renee knows the help of lots of volunteers has made this possible. It's rewarding for them, too.
I hope for me, I'll probably get, a warm feeling inside knowing that, I was able to help, accomplish a goal of building Renee a house, and a place for her family to live. And I know that's important.
Programs such as Habitat for Humanity offer a lot to everyone involved. Volunteers learn practical skills and other lessons they can use in life. Coming out and picking up a hammer and a nail is a good start, but volunteers are striving to build not only a house, but a sense of community. That sense of community comes from working together to accomplish a goal. Long after Renee's house is finished, she'll remember those who helped her realize a goal and a dream. In Chapel Hill, I'm Christy Fair, Carolina Week.
Renee says she expects to move in by March, and volunteers say they'll definitely help her celebrate.
Why is the number 21 significant? People who were at the state capitol grounds know the answer. 21 is the number of children in North Carolina who died of child abuse or neglect during the past year. The organization Prevent Child Abuse of North Carolina held a 21-hour candlelight vigil Friday and Saturday nights to remember the youngest victims of abuse and neglect. At the top of every hour, someone lit a candle and spoke about one of these lost children. The goal of the event was to raise awareness about the tragedy of child abuse and neglect right here in our own state. This is the 5th year organizers have held the vigil, and they say they plan to be back in 2001. It's State Fair time with a fair amount that's new and different. We'll take you there when Carolina Week continues.
And you'll hear from a campus regular some say you have to hear before you graduate.
Regardless of our age, gender, race, or sexual orientation, AIDS affects everyone. Patsy's son died of AIDS, but she is determined to combat this disease. Karen has HIV, but will be at her son's graduation. Susan's teenage daughter has AIDS and big plans for college. For these women, Mother's Day will never be the same, but they believe there's hope. Join them. Get involved. Call 919-834-2437.
University Day 2000 marked a new era for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. James Measer officially stepped into his role as the university's 9th chancellor during the annual University Day ceremony. Measer will immediately have to face the challenges of persuading voters to pass the $3.1 billion school bond referendum and solving the problem of attracting and keeping quality professors. North Carolina Governor Jim Hunt was at the ceremonies to welcome the new chancellor and also to stress the importance of the upcoming November school bond vote. You may have noticed some signs of the times as you've walked across campus lately. Signs are all across campus showing support for the bond referendum. The $3.1 billion funding package would improve and expand facilities across the state's 59 community colleges and 16 campuses of the university system. If it passed, students and faculty can look forward to renovations of the 47 campus buildings marked with bond signs. Improvements of rundown classrooms would put students and faculty to work in spaces that are now empty. Officials say they aren't using any state money to pay for the signs.
The North Carolina State Fair brings with it lots of food and fun, but this year there are some things to see you probably won't ever get a chance to see again. One of these is the Footprints of James A. Graham exhibit. Fairgoers are invited to walk in the steps of North Carolina's sod father by visiting the exhibit. The features include Graham's achievements in agriculture and a replica of his office. The exhibit is meant to recognize Graham's 36-year career as North Carolina Commissioner of Agriculture. He is the longest-serving state commissioner of agriculture in the country, and he says he's proud of North Carolina's diverse agriculture.
Poultry Federation, Apple Association, Egg Association, and all the many commodities we have in North Carolina. The average person doesn't have any earthly idea how diversified we are in this state.
Another unique sight at the 133rd Annual North Carolina State Fair is the sculpture of Graham milking a cow, a sculpture made entirely of butter. Ironically, the butter didn't come from North Carolina dairies.
The class of 2001 can make some lasting memories this week by coming out to participate in Senior Week. Seniors have already had the opportunity to get their picture taken with Ramses, decorate bags to be handed out to kids in the hospital, and learn about December commencement. But that's not all there are. More activities planned for every day of the week. Senior Marshal Scott Washington says all seniors should get out and enjoy Carolina this week.
This is a special time of year, you know, it's fall semester's winding down, leaves are starting to turn brown, so it's the last time you get to experience that here in Chapel Hill, so you might as well come out and enjoy it.
Seniors can check their email to find out more about this week's activities. Most of us at UNC know him as the Pit Preacher. He's not a student or a teacher, but people hear his ideas whether they want to or not. His real name is Gary Birdsong, and I wanted to find out what he's all about.
Stronger than women!
He calls himself a missionary and travels across the country to preach what some say is an extreme version of Christianity to college students. For example, he believes women should submit to their husbands and is fond of listing groups of people headed to hell. But it's not so much what he says as the way he says it that draws such strong reactions.
No, sets us out of marriage!
He always draws a crowd, and there's no shortage of opinions about his message or his style.
It bothers me because it's like he reads the same Bible that I read, yet he can interpret it in such a totally different way.
He's condemning people, which he really doesn't have any right to do. The way he presents things seems a little strong, but I think that's necessary.
It's entertainment. It's mid-class entertainment.
People know his ideas and never hesitate to argue about religion, but I wanted to find out who Gary Birdsong is behind the religious fervor.
I come out of an abusive family. My father was an alcoholic. His father tried to kill him when he was 13 with a pitchfork.
Birdsong got married, had 2 children, and got divorced. After his divorce, his life took a turn for the worse.
Before I became a Christian, I was a biker running around with the Hells Angels. And I was into drugs, selling drugs and stuff like that.
In what he calls a miraculous conversion, he became a Christian and started telling his friends.
People thought I was completely crazy. My sister asked my mother, said, what kind of religion is that?
Although many students on campus share his family's opinion, no one I talked to contested his right to preach.
He has the right to say whatever he believes. We don't have to listen if we don't want to.
I admire him that he has the amount of faith that he can go out and do this. I just don't agree with everything he says.
Birdsong believes his mission is going well. He's seeing more Christians active on college campuses than ever before, so it looks as though he'll be around for a while, preaching to anyone who will listen. Well, he's going to be around the Triangle area, actually, until it gets cold, and at that point, he's going to continue preaching in Florida. He goes down there to warm up a little.
Wow, I've been through the pit sometimes, and he gets really, you know.
I know, but you know, believe it or not, he says that this is actually one of the milder campuses, so go figure.
Well, another loss for the Tar Heel boys, but the men of the court are back in business. Devin Biggins has sports later on in Carolina Week.
But next, Kelly Mahoney has our forecast. It's nice enough outside now to sit and ponder, but will this nice weather last? Kelly's answer next.
The second floor of Davis is where students go to pseudo-study. No real studying occurs here. Girls sit in the cushy chairs to scope out guys as they come up the stairs. I've never witnessed the exam break streaking that occurs there, but I'd like to see it before I graduate. No one knows the real Carolina like a student. Carolina Week, the student news show.
Women's Center, may I help you?
The Women's Center is a nonprofit agency that has served as a meeting place for women in the Triangle since 1979, making it one of the oldest freestanding women's centers in the country. The mission of the Women's Center is to provide a supportive community where all women can inspire each other to grow, both personally and professionally.
I was going through a crisis at home, and I contacted Helpline, and they referred me directly to the Women's Center.
I think the Women's Center is really important for the community because it offers so many different kinds of resources, and if we don't have the resource here, we can find an avenue or a way for women to find the answers that they need.
It is inspiring. It's so exciting to be a part of something that really matters and really changes things.
You can support the Women's Center through membership or by sending a contribution to the Women's Center, 210 Henderson Street, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27514.
It's supposed to be sort of already talking when it comes.
So what's with this weather? I mean, it's gotten warm, it's gotten cold.
I know, what is this? Why can't it just stay cold and just be cold and be fall?
Well, I don't know.
Messing with me.
Yeah, well, I'm not ready for it to be cold quite yet. You're right, though. We've had our share of nice weather. It's gotten warm and then cold and warm and then cold. And this kind of inconstancy of our weather kind of leads into our weather question, which is about the unseasonably warm temperatures. The weather question this week is, what weather conditions are necessary to have what we call a true Indian summer? And your choices are A, temps above 70 degrees for 1 week, B, warm temperatures after a killing frost, or C, a delayed change in the foliage color, or D, none. I made up the term, and Indian summer is not a meteorological term. So you can think about that. But for now, let's take a look outside and see what the weather's been like through the midweek pattern. You can see students walking around campus enjoying what's beginning to show up in the fall foliage color. You can see some reds and yellows in the background, and students are in fact enjoying what is turning out to be maybe an Indian summer. We shall see. If you've been lucky enough to check out some of the fall colors, it is looking pretty good outside. The normal peak time for fall foliage display is early November for central North Carolina. Right now, we're in what they call a moderate time, which means 30 to 50% of the vegetation is beginning to change color. If we take a look outside, actually, if you've been lucky enough to see it, some of the best places right about now are Mount Mitchell, Grandfather Mountain, or Craggy Gardens because they are in western North Carolina, and the fall foliage display increases as you head eastward, which is why we will be able to see some of those bright reds and yellows as we head into next week and the week after. If we take a look outside at what's going on right now anyway on the weather map, the midweek pattern shows a cold front moving off the coast, and with that cold front moving off, there's a huge dome of high pressure behind, which means good news for our weekend weather. Behind it, you can see another cold front starting to come in, but we're lucky because there's very little moisture in the atmosphere right now, which means very little precipitation. So these little cold fronts that are coming through just mean better and better weather for us. Taking a look at what this means for our Carolina Week 4-day forecast, Friday looks nice, temperatures in the 70s. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday warms up to 76 degrees on Saturday. Sunday it's 73, and Monday it's 72. So it looks nice, and temperatures are just in the 40s, which is very, very, very seasonable and comfortable for this time of the year. If you're lucky enough to head out to the beach, maybe try and squeeze in a last-minute beach vacation before the weather does get too cold. This weekend looks absolutely perfect. Saturday and Sunday both see a lot of sun, temperatures in the 80s. And in the mountains, if you're lucky enough to get out there and see those leaves change color before they all fall off, temperatures will be 70 on Saturday, 69 on Sunday, and it won't be too cold if you want to head up to the mountains for a camping trip. As we take on the Clemson Tigers this weekend, game time temperature looks pretty comfortable at 71 degrees when we kick off at 5:30 p.m. on Saturday. So, hope I've given you enough time to think about the weather question. And so do you think we're having an Indian summer or not? What do you think it takes?
I'm not really sure about that.
I'm so completely excited about the leaves turning colors that I'm going to go for that answer, and this is just very exciting for me.
You know, there's a lot of controversy that does surround this term, but what you actually need is a killing frost. That's the one stipulation, so the answer is B. And so now you know.
We don't have one then.
No,
Okay.
we're not in an Indian summer.
Okay. Well, you know, the acorns have just about put out my eyes. Let's talk about the leaves. So, yeah.
Right.
Midnight Madness ushers in another season of basketball. Devin Bigness is up next with sports.
We'll have UNC basketball and a touch of the pros. And with some guys like this Toronto star, sometimes it's hard to remember who's who.
The Ronald McDonald House is a nonprofit organization that provides a home away from home for families of children being treated at UNC hospitals. Since opening in 1988, the house has welcomed more than 1,000 families each year to stay at this safe haven. The house relies heavily on community support. How can you help? Become a volunteer. Help the house that love built. The Ronald McDonald House, the house with a heart.
Midnight Madness
was pretty awesome the other night.
You know, I got to be honest, we got a good-looking coach. What do other people think about him?
I think people are really excited about it, hoping to go to those fourth Final Four in the last 5 years. Midnight Madness is back. New basketball head coach Matt Doherty is bringing back the old tradition for a new era. Carolina Week's Ayanna Banks has that story.
A crowd of more than 10,000 fans packed Carmichael Auditorium for Carolina's first Midnight with Matt and the Tar Heels. First, Coach Doherty and staff take on the CAA 3-on-3 champions. Junior Jerron Hayes with the pick. He scores easily on Coach D. Coach D comes back and shows the team how it should be done. He and his staff go on to win 14-13. And then the crowd counts down to midnight as the players step out on the court. Practice drills quickly becoming a dunk show, followed by a team scrimmage. Michael Brooker passes to Brendan Haywood, who dunks over not one, but two defenders. The white team takes the game 55-28. All in all, the fans enjoyed the night and seemed pleased with the new coach.
About Coach Doherty, I think he's great. He was just out talking to all the students yesterday. He's been very active so far, and I really appreciate that. It means a lot that he's trying to get all of us involved, all the students. He wants crowd support, and he wants it from everybody. He wants to make basketball fun.
Everyone can next check out the team in the blue and white game Saturday at 2 in the Dean Dome. In Chapel Hill, I'm Ayanna Banks, Carolina Week.
Vinsanity has hit Chapel Hill. The former Tar Heel and two other former UNC players came back to the place where they built a basketball dynasty in the 1990s. A member of the 1998 Final Four team, Ademola Okulaja, and the co-captain of the 1993 National Championship team, George Lynch, had a homecoming Monday night. But the star of the night was clearly Air Canada. The following is the Vince Carter highlight reel. Vince just straight blowing it up. Vince had 38 points. The Raptors lost this game 107-98, but the main attraction was clearly Vinsanity. Now Vince with a little slamorama in slow-mo for your viewing enjoyment. Booyah! He wasn't trying to steal the show, Vince said afterwards.
I've learned not to get caught up in that. I'm not here to put on a show. I'm here to get better. I'm here to win. I'm here to play in front of the crowd, yes, but it wasn't for them. Not like that. I was just here to play.
With the previous two games between State and Carolina being decided by 7 points, the half-red and half-blue audience at Kenan Stadium was looking forward to a showdown. The Heels want to tackle the Wolfpack, so Ramsey just lights up the Wolf. A UNC win would be the 8th consecutive victory for the Heels. But in the first quarter, State gets crazy on us. Here, wideout Julius Peterson finds Phillip Rivers with the oop-de-oop. I didn't even know Rivers was a wide receiver, but he's pretty good. Carolina hangs tough here, though. Ronald Curry crosses into the promised land. Now Phillip Rivers returns the favor to Peterson with his 10-yard strike. With 12 minutes left in the game, Heels down 24-20. The State defense telling Ronald Curry to share. State recovers the ball. Then 2 plays later, tailback Coacher Jackson leaps into the end zone to put State up for good. The Wolfpack wins the battle for North Carolina name supremacy, 38-20. Carolina volleyball is helping out in the Carlisle Cup standings. The team beat 2 ACC rivals Duke and UVA this past week. Carolina Week's Brad Klein has that story.
The Carolina volleyball team increased its lead in the ACC standings to 3 games after Tuesday night's win over the Virginia Cavaliers. The Tar Heels won the hard-fought contest 15-7, 15-13, 17-15. Although it was a 3-game sweep, the Cavaliers were a tough opponent, fighting off match points several times. It was the second win in a row for the Tar Heels, who also defeated Duke 3-0 on Sunday. Carolina had fallen into a tie for first place with Georgia Tech after a tough loss to Wake Forest Friday night. Freshman Nicole Reese, who led the Tar Heels in kills against Virginia, says the Heels had to put the tough loss behind them.
It was just like a starting of anew. We tied with Georgia Tech for first because of it, and we just wanted to forget about it and just go on and show everybody that we can be a great team.
Carolina hopes to further distance itself from the rest of the ACC Friday night against Florida State. In Chapel Hill, I'm Brad Klein, Carolina Week.
Well, for the first time in a long time, the men's soccer team is ranked higher than the women's team. The men's soccer is #1 in the most recent poll. Carolina women's team slacking a little bit. They're only #2.
And the women have been, for how long, have been ahead? They've been ahead a while, huh?
The women have been ahead. They won about 15 out of the last 18 national championships.
Now the guys are catching up with the girls.
Great.
Thanks, Devin.
Thanks.
All right. It's annual, it's good for the community, and it pits girl against girl.
When Carolina Week continues, it's tub time for charity, raising funds and having fun, and donning the derbies for dear old Sigma Chi.
North Carolina is where the wonders never cease. It's where visitors and residents alike can be touched by these things and always remember the embrace of clouds around a mountain peak, sparkling water forever in a hurry, a bridge less traveled, an enchanted wetland forest, and the place where the sun meets the sea.
Want to know how to get 11 different sororities in your house at one time?
You may want to take advice from UNC Sigma Chi's. Carolina Week's Michelle Muscatello has the story.
Every fall, girls from each of the 11 different sororities flock to the Sigma Chi fraternity house to compete in Derby Days. The week-long event raises money for the UNC's Children's Hospital and the Children's Miracle Network. Last year, UNC Sigma Chi's raised more money than any other chapter and were able to donate $30,000 to their charities. John Leggett is the chair of this year's Derby Days. He says the fraternity has set its fundraising goal even higher.
This year we're hoping obviously to do better than the past few years and hopefully raise $35,000 to $40,000. We're well on our way to that target. The girls are really enthusiastic, so we're excited about it.
The UNC Children's Hospital uses the money donated by Sigma Chi to build and renovate its playrooms. The fraternity also began giving a portion of its earnings to the Children's Miracle Network.
The Children's Miracle Network raises funds for children's hospitals in North America. All of the money raised by UNC Sigma Chi's will stay in the Triangle area and help terminally ill kids. But raising money isn't the only prize in tonight's gathering.
The event, Make a Sig Smile, challenges the sororities to try to win hats from the Sigma Chi brothers by making them smile. The sororities get 1 point for each of the hats they win. The houses also obtain points by competing in banner and lip sync competitions, soccer and kickball games, and based on how much money they raise for Derby Days. Members of Phi Mu sorority are sitting in a pink bathtub on Franklin Street to raise some money. Sorority sister Ivy Sparra says all of the events are great, but the group's main concern is raising the money.
Of course, it's fun to spark a little bit of a conflict, or not conflict, but competitiveness between the Greek system. But ultimately, our goal is for the philanthropy.
Fraternities and sororities are known for being places to party, but the Sigma Chi's also want to be known as people who serve the community, even if they have a great time doing it. In Chapel Hill, I'm Michelle Muscatello, Carolina Week.
That's a really good way to fundraise and make friends.
Definitely. Yeah. All right, well, that about does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thank you for joining us, and be sure to come back next week. Until then, have a good week. Good night.